Welcome to People, Places, and Things with Skip Nichols, a podcast fueled by curiosity, conversation, and maybe a good pour. Each episode will dive into the things that make life interesting: travel, collecting, hobbies, bourbon, cruising, pop culture, current events, and whatever else catches my attention. No yelling and no lectures, just thoughtful discussion, a little humor, and real conversations with real people about the stuff we actually enjoy. So pull up a chair, settle in, and let's talk about people, places, and things. Hey everybody, and welcome to People, Places, and Things with Skip Nichols. Tonight we are recording with Malcolm Ingram, a filmmaker who's built a career telling some very intense stories that many people probably wouldn't have even touched, and doing it with honesty, curiosity, and just enough edge to keep it super interesting for everyone. From indie film roots to powerful documentaries that explore identity, culture, and the human experience, Malcolm has a way of finding the story behind the story, and today we're going to unpack some of that. Welcome everybody, Malcolm Ingram, to the show. Thanks, Malcolm, for joining us.
It's so kind. What an intro. I'm like, who's this guy talking about? It's so funny. I'm wearing a Raiders of the Lost Ark t-shirt. I just kind of like I'm just a dork. I was, the thing is, I've been running around today and I was gonna wear a Taylor Swift shirt, but I'm like, Raiders is just good enough. Well, actually, Raiders are not good enough. I should never, like, Raiders is one of the greatest movies ever made. So
it is. Hey, it gets us back to our teenage years, as we were talking about in our pre-interview there. We grew up in the same exact era, so yeah, I'm with you on Raiders, man. One of the greatest movies ever. So Malcolm,
is it fucking impossible to not be the guy who's like, you have, like, to be with younger people, you're like, you have no idea what you missed. Like, it's kind of like, and it's kind of generational. Like, my parents never said that. My parents were like, growing up was amazing, but like, we grew up in a fucking like, for me, like, the 70s and 80s and 90s were phenomenal. Like, it was amazing. I did the 90s right, like, in every way, shape, or form. Like, you know, I got to make fucking, you know, I even got to make a movie about, like, I don't know, like, it's funny. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I love it, man. You're good. So where are you joining us from today, Malcolm?
Toronto, Canada, the corner of Church and Wellesley, or as Kevin Smith liked to say, the corner of Cock and Gay. I've lived in this very apartment for 25 years, which is incredible.
Oh my God.
And if you'll note, over my shoulder is a big Elvis poster that I bought myself for my 40th birthday, which is like, it's a gigantic fucking poster. I don't know if the scale is kind of thing. There's a photo of my family up there. Nice. And the disco is on. Dolly's Disco. I'm putting it on for you, sir, which is something that I created. I went through a lot of trouble over the holidays. And so to kind of bring myself some cheer, I spent like $100 on Facebook Marketplace and set up a disco in my place.
I love it, man. I love it. Hey, we got to do what we got to do to have a little self-healing time and to make our space what it needs to be.
Well, you're making it sound like a sack, dude. This is like, it's really funny. When Kevin bought Affleck's house, I said, does it have a disco in it? And because the funniest thing is, in my head, like, a disco because it's that whole Studio 54 thing, right? It's kind of like the disco to somebody who kind of like was a kid in the 70s, like, Studio 54 was everything, right? Like, that's what, for me, like, I love, like, the Rollings, like, everybody, like, from Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Andy Warhol, to Tatum O'Neal, like, everybody was going through Studio 54, and it was a disco. It was actually full of gay people, like, doing lots of drugs and fucking, and some celebrities.
A mixed bags, if you will.
Yes, a mixed, yes. So basically, I think that, like, the influence is kind of Studio 54, which Studio 54 was influenced by the Condé Nast, which I made a documentary about. So it all, man, it's all circular, baby. It's all circular.
It all comes and goes around, doesn't it? Well, my little space is a little bit of office space, a little bit of
you got fucking 07 right. If my boyfriend knew that 07, like I hate to tell you, my ex-boyfriend's jizz is probably still on that shirt somewhere.
Oh my god!
Like no, that was from like, but I got 07. What you have on your wall there, and what made my ex think, it made him sick to know that it was on a wall. I bought 07 in a Walmart in literally when we arrived in Tupelo, Mississippi, because I knew that in doing interviews for Small Town Gay Bar, I was going to be seeing all kinds of people, and I did not want anything that would distinguish me in any way. I didn't want to hide who I was.
Right.
But like, again, like that jersey, it had to be it couldn't be, I didn't want to be, it had to be a generic sports jersey, which is what a guy my size in the South would wear. You know what I mean? So,
right.
and
you got that right.
Like, some of my, that jersey has been with me in great moments, and it was so funny, and I wore it to fucking death, and it was one of those things like, by the end of it, like me and my boyfriend did 5 years, and I got it kind of at the beginning of our relationship, actually in the middle. But like I wore it so much that by the end, like he was sick of that. I was over wearing that jersey in like 2006.
Well, that's where I first saw it, was when you were in your great dancing scene at the Urinal in Clerks too.
That jersey's in Clerks too. You see my fucking ass.
And then the other thing I've got is the Muscle Shoals movie documentary cover.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
I'm coming to Muscle Shoals, eh?
Yes, you're supposed to. We're going to work that out. We're going to get you down here.
I've already got it booked. You're not going to be there, but like I got some stuff to drop off for you. But like we'll talk about that off this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
I can talk about it here. Actually, I might as well. Talk here. Do it. I have to go down south. Like, I want to catch before anything happens. Before Small Town Gay Bar is reintroduced in the world. I want to do a temperature reading. Like, I want to go back and talk to a lot of the people I talked to before. Like before we even premiered anywhere. Like, I want to get like without any. I want to pick up their lives naturally without the movie coming back in, right? Because when the movie comes back, so I'm going down to Mississippi next month to kind of like film all the locations and to talk to some of the people.
Oh, fun.
That we'll put on social media and all that kind of stuff as the launch happens. And now the thing that happened with that is I had to go to Mississippi, and like usually, like I mean, I lived in Biloxi for a year by myself and all. I mean, I know the South very, very well. And I had to go, and it turns out that Bob Dylan is doing a show in Jackson, Mississippi, when I'm there. So I'm like, my nephew, me and him are the last surviving male Ingrams. Like, you know, my brother passed and stuff. So, and I've wonderfully, I've been a good uncle. I kind of, you know, I brought him to see his first Stone show. I brought him to see Jack. Like I got him, I helped inspire some of his music tastes. I mean, he's on his own journey, but like I kind of, I threw up my stuff. So I get the privilege, like basically this trip to do the document Small Town Gay Bar, like 20 years later, I'm going to get to go and bring my nephew on a trip we're going to go to Muscle Shoals. We're going to go to see Bob Dylan in Jackson, Mississippi, where I got a pre-order ticket from. Like it all just like in my mailbox, like this pre-order code showed up. I got 4th row Bob Dylan tickets for $100 each.
Oh, you can't beat that, dude.
And like Dylan is so much better in a I've seen Dylan, like I drove out once to go see him in Nebraska because I want to be like, is he different in the Heartland? Like, and he is. Like he's a different performer than he is in like I've seen him in New York, I've seen him in Toronto, but I've also seen him in like, you know, small town Georgia, seen him in Nebraska, and like seeing Dylan in like seeing Dylan in kind of the Heartland amongst the people is a special experience.
I can only imagine. I've never seen him live.
I mean, the thing, everybody makes complaints about like his voice. Like Bob Dylan is you know, Bob Dylan is everything. Like the intelligence and wisdom of that man, and the lyrics and the music and everything. I mean, he's such a wonderful inspiration for me, and to like have the privilege to bring my nephew, like this trip that I was going to go on anyway, so it's not costing me anything. And then the Jazz Fest is on, and like I'm going to be seeing Bob like in one 24-hour period. Well, actually, in like 36 hours, my nephew is going to be seeing Graceland, The Crossroads, Bob Dylan, David fucking Byrne, Big Frida. Like it's just crazy. Like in that, like Dave Byrne and Bob Dylan like are so seminal to me, and like I'm gonna be seeing them both within 24 hours in the South, which is my adopted fucking home. Like it's just like and sharing that with my nephew, like the privilege of that, like, you know, like Clarksdale, like, you know what I mean, like where the Crows, like that.
Yeah,
you're talking about the fucking root of music history, like the music that I love, like Rolling Stones and stuff, like it's born there. And like to share that with my nephew, and to kind of like go back and revisit, like, you know, what is inarguably my greatest success, and talk to these wonderful people who were so brave and eloquent in our first meeting. Like it's such a thrill. It's such a life sometimes throws you like it's really weird. Like life never gives you more than you could handle, and if you make it through, if you navigate your way through, sometimes like it'll throw you a bone where you're like, holy shit, you know what I mean?
Like you won the lottery.
Well, it's just kind of like, it's the little, like, and the thing about it is, it's all about appreciating things. Like that's one thing that like through, you know, trauma and you know, a lot of like, man, I lost so many people. I lost like in 2 years, I lost two of my best friends in the film world, like Doug Langway and Ash Christian, like two guys that were like, Ash Christian was a kid that had a movie called Fat Girls that played on the festival circuit with Small Town Gay Bar, and he's like, he's like when I made the movie Continental, he found me, Steve Ostro, like he did so much work for me, he helped me out so much. And then Doug Langway, he directed the Bear City trilogy, and a dear friend, and Kevin is actually in Bear City 2 for any completionists. But both Ash and Doug, they both passed away in the pandemic, and it was just kind of like, and then, you know, my mother, and then my mother, and then soon after my brother, and then I became really close to an old friend from high school, and I came back, and like I came back from this event in Winnipeg that ended up being very difficult, like a very hard situation. And I came back, and I was texting with this guy the day before. I went to bed, and Trump had won the election. I woke up, and it was a guy's wife calling, and my friend had jumped off a bridge. This was a guy that like I was texting, like it was just kind of like, so yeah, like I've had like some incredible, like it's just kind of, sometimes you're like, what is this? And the one thing that's so important in life is never feel that things are happening to you. Things are just happening. You can't take it, you know, what'll really take you down a negative road. I'm being Kevin right now. I'm talking to
Hey, you do it, brother. You run with it.
No, but like, you know, on the journey, you can't be a victim in your own life. Everybody's got to be the hero of their story. Like, that's so fundamental. Like, be the hero of your story. And don't be the hero of your story through rationalization and lying to yourself. Be the hero of the story because you want to be somebody that, you know, be part, if not part of the solution, don't be part of the problem. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like everybody's fucking, we're all struggling, and you don't know. Like, that's why, like, everybody I meet, I try and be like, I'm shy. Like, that's a funny thing about me. Like, I found out, like, I used to be a huge drinker, and I realized I used to be a huge drinker because there's so much social to being a filmmaker that I drank so I could actually go out and do the things that I needed to do. Like, if I had to go to a party, I would drink like a bunch of beers before because I felt nervous about like running into people before I went. So I needed a lubricant, you know, it worked, but ultimately, like, you want to be able to communicate with people without, like, it's funny because before this podcast, I just got, again, you know, whatever is out there, God, I see it as an energy. Like, sometimes things happen for a reason. Like, I just had a really tough week this week. And then all of a sudden, like, I found a website where you could search every dispensary in the area of what weed they have, what strains. And as a miracle, literally a miracle, like, I'm going to show you this and you're literally going to roll your eyes, but it's just like, this here is something that I've never seen available in Canada. This is like the weed that, like, the Jay and Silent Bob joints are smoking, like, are come from. It's Caviar Gold.
Okay.
This weed, like, when I had to go to LA with Sean Stanley, my editor, and we had to wait, like, in Clerk, like, Kevin wanted to do his final cut, and like, we were basically like rented a place and just kind of waited for that to happen. And we smoked so much. This is the greatest. Like, Kevin's weed that he has is incredible. And then my favorite strain of all time, which is I found in Vancouver when Kevin was shooting The Flash, is something called Firecracker. Now, this is a fucking really fucking, like, I have a weed bag.
Of course you do.
This is my weed bag, and like, it's full of fucking like, you know, I mean, it's full of like strain.
It's a little variety.
Yeah, but essentially, like, in my, like, this is how much fire. See this? Like, this bag is like 4 years old, and it's from the last time I had Firecracker, and there's like a little fucking nugget in there. Like, that's how special this is. And it sells out really quick when it comes in. So like, and the thing, and so I just, and Sean Stanley, my editor, like, he loves both these strains as well. So like, I got some for him. So I'm so happy. But like, I came home and I literally got my two favorite strains. They're incredibly rare. And I was like, I got to do a podcast. So I smoke, and I said no. I said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to keep my head clear.
Well, whatever you need to do, brother.
Usually I would have smoked, but like, I just want to be clear-headed.
No problem. So let's go back a little bit to when did storytelling first grab you? When did you first know that you wanted to tell stories?
It all comes from my brother. Me and my brother shared a bunk beds in Brockville when I was a kid. My brother, Steven, he used to tell me stories. He had this thing called Handy, and he had a sock puppet. Like, he would entertain me. Like, I was on the bottom bunk, he was in the top bunk, and he would always, he would, my brother was so wonderful. He took great time to kind of entertain me. Like, bedtime for me was very special because, like, my brother would put on a show for me. And then my brother started reading Jaws, because like my brother was probably, it would have been like 73, 74. So I would have been like 5 or 6. And my brother would have been like 9 or 10. So like my brother could read. So my brother was reading Jaws, and my brother was reading Jaws. And then when we'd go to bed, he'd tell me the story of Jaws as he was reading it. So like I was captivated by Jaws as a book that my brother was like basically detailing to me as I went to sleep at night. So Jaws was in my, like, I'm like, a what? Shark attack is like, you're like fucking 5, 6 years old. You're like, I got another thing to worry about. Like, because my family would go to Florida when we were kids and stuff. And I'd be like,
oh, yeah,
there's sharks. What? Like, Jaws, it's such an incredible story. Like that, what a great story to learn storytelling from. But I learned it secondary through my brother, because my brother was telling the story of Jaws, right? Like he was kind of like, he was telling about it because I couldn't read it myself. And then one day my brother said there's gonna be a movie made about it. And I was like, movie? And so every day, it's really weird because we lived in Montreal at the time when Jaws came out, in Beaconsfield. And in Montreal, the ratings were for all 14 and 18. If you were like, America is different. It's 17 and under, and a parent, you could bring in a parental accompaniment.
Yeah.
In Canada, in Montreal and in Toronto, the ratings were like, if a movie was like 14 or 18, nobody under could get in. And they were very strict about it. Like, movie going was very different in Canada than America. And Jaws got rated 14. And I was I was fucking like crestfallen. I was like, fuck, like there's something stopping me from seeing this movie, like, that I want to see more than anything in the world. So what sent me on a path, interestingly enough, is my mother, by explaining the rating, she said, this is for all 14 and 18. And she showed me the ratings, and she said, like, if this ever, if it's 14, if it says for all, you can go. But if it's 14, you can't go. So I swear to God, I checked the paper every day, hoping that it would change. And one day they made a mistake, and it did. Like, they listed it for all instead of 14. So the thing about it is when you're looking at newspaper advertisements every day, at the time, it's like shampoo. It's these Dog Day Afternoon. Like, it's these provocative movies that came out. Like, 75 was an incredible time for film. Like Nashville, Nashville had such a great poster for a child. It's like, it's such an adult movie. Like it's no accident that 2 of my favorite movies of all time are from 1975. When I was like, Shampoo and Nashville are my 2 favorite movies.
And we were 6 years old.
Well, no, what?
And we were like 6 years old.
No. They're my favorite movies now. Like, I'm like, I'm just saying, like, they just so happen to be from that time. I'm sure a lot of it is like, the artwork for Shampoo was provide, it was like, Warren Beatty and 2 women, and then the under image, like, Shampoo, that whole thing, to a, Too Hot, like Julie Christie and Goldie Hawn in like the 70s, like, and Warren Beatty. I don't think I was that confused with my sexuality, but there was a lot of hotness in that photo. And then Nashville, which had like an animated kind of dancing microphone. And then like Dog Day, like, they were great. Like, the poster art of that time was great. So I basically, like, that's how I fell in love with movies. Cause like, and finally, like, my family, we moved to at the end of 1975, we moved to Toronto, and in Toronto, Jaws was rated adult entertainment, which meant we could all go. And literally the first thing we did when we came to Toronto was we went and saw Jaws. Like, literally, we moved here. That night, we all went to Jaws. So that's kind of how storytelling entered my life. Like, it's a very long, but like, it's so funny. Like, I have a very direct answer for that. Like, a lot of people are like, I know specifically how it entered my life.
That's a great story, man. It's a great story, and kudos to your brother for entertaining you too with the sock puppets and too.
Yeah, you
Something
know,
about
like,
big brothers.
here's the thing, man. Like, my brother was the best, and like, losing him, like, I don't think about my brother like every day. I think about my brother every hour. I think of my brother all the time. Like, if you look around my place, like, I'll show you right now. Like, I have a special spot. This is my brother's urn.
Okay.
Isn't that awesome? It's Todd.
That is.
There's one
awesome.
buried, and there's part of him in here. It's Todd. I'm my brother's big deadhead. And then on top of there sits a cap that's from a Toronto Blue Jays. My dad loved baseball, and my brother loved the Dead. So I went. The Jays did this thing where they had like Grateful Dead Day.
Yeah.
And I went and I just brought a Walkman, and I made a mix of a combination of my father and brother's favorite music, like Grateful Dead and Neil Diamond, and like, and I listened, and it was a beautiful day, and it was spiritual. It was really incredible, and that's what the tat is from. But like, I felt like when you lose people like that, like my brother is foundational to who I am, and you know, he was lost tragically, and when you lose somebody like that, like the hole that it fucking leads, like it's a level of devastation that like you can't really properly convey. But like, the wonderful thing about life, it turns kind of when you make the transition from deep grieving to being able to just remember and not cry. Like, I could talk, like, literally, if we talked about my brother like a year ago for this long, I'd be crying. And now I could talk about and remember him and not be emotionally overwhelmed. And I could actually like think about him and not be completely destroyed by it. Because he was an incredible person. My brother was a chef. My brother was a creative person. My brother was had a wonderful heart. Never, like, my brother didn't have he wasn't a fighter. My brother didn't have a mean bone in his body. And my brother was one of those weird fucking guys where my brother would literally go to an airport and say, when's the next plane leaving? And he would go and he would make a life there. It was the weirdest fucking thing. Like, during the pandemic, he was like living with a woman and all this stuff. And like, one day he just went and he flew down to like Colombia. My brother liked cocaine. So my brother he's just like, oh, the pandemic's on. Well, I'm gonna go fucking sit on a beach and do cocaine. And I'm just like,
there you go.
You know, that attitude, like, you know, like, drugs are complicated. Like, there's some people, like, drugs are for some people and not for some people. I'm a very big drug advocate. Like, I did a lot of LSD in high school. It very much, that whole concept of doors of perception, I absolutely believe. I believe that I believe that my ability, like how I think, and a lot of my viewpoint of the world, I kind of was formulated in, you know, doing LSD with I had a really great, like, I was friends with a bunch of punk rockers when I was a kid. Like, I had a mohawk and all that. But my best friend was captain of the football team. So I had this really kind of weird, like, and we were at I went to this school, OT, which was like the rich kid school, which every year it was like a bad John Hughes movie. But like the one year, like our year, like, it was just this great mix where, like, I was just this kind of like, I was a big guy that looked like I should play football, but like, even when I was a kid, I was like, my knees, man, that's good. That'll fuck me up. And like ultimately I'm not very coordinated. Like I never got into sports, but like my best friend who was actually the brother of my brother's best friend. Isn't that fucking weird? Like life is so weird. Like my brother Steve had a friend named Brian. Brian had a brother Martin, and Martin became my best friend. That's how, like, I don't know. My brother had a very big influence in my life. And Martin ended up being the guy, he was captain of the football team. He ended up being in Drawing Flies. He is that guy, the guy in Drawing Flies that's not from Mallrats.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's Martin. That's my high school.
So your brother kind of led you into storytelling. What was your first real break in the industry?
Getting a job at TIFF, at Toronto Film Festival. It was funny because I was the guy that literally, like, you remember the days of like temp employment, like warehouse, like,
oh yeah,
I had that in America. Like we had like Olston, we had these places that you could go get temporary work. And I was the king of temporary work, like because my parents would be like, because I didn't live off much, like, right, like, you know, I sold hash and stuff like that, but like, you know, I wasn't like, I had enough to get by, but I didn't have my brother bought motorcycles and shit. Like my brother was a very good hash dealer. But like I was kind of small time, but I always had, but like sometimes I would get legitimate employment, and I was the guy that would go to like, you know, temporary work, or I'd work like, you know, I had a lot of goofy jobs. And then one time my parents were like, it was really funny. Like it was very, it's just another foundational thing. Like one day my dad was like, Malcolm, you're interested in film. You keep talking about movies. Like, what are you going to do about it? And I was like, I made up a resume I still have. And I just went, because like what my dad used to work at Young and Shepherd. My dad worked for the Metropolitan Separate School Board, which is a Catholic school board in Toronto. And there used to be a Warner Brothers had a building at Young and Shepherd. That like it was a building that had the Warner Brothers logo, and that made me realize like Hollywood is here. Like, you know what Absolutely. I mean? Like seeing a Warner Brothers symbol right by my dad's work made it seem attainable.
Yeah, so that's like the gold standard.
Huh?
That's like the gold standard. I mean, that's like real Hollywood in your backyard.
Yeah, like Warner Brothers had an office in Toronto that just happened. So I would see that sign and it made me think like, oh, so my dad was like, why don't you apply for anything then? And so I made up a resume and I went there, and then I looked up a bunch of places that had kind of like, I brought my resume to a bunch of different places that were film based. Like I brought it to Cineplex. I brought it to all these places. And then one of the places that I brought my resume to was at the new offices of TIFF, who had just moved out to Yorkville and now moved to a location that is literally 3 blocks from where I live now for 25 years. Like some of the most important events, I live within 4 blocks of some very formative places in my life. Like the place where my career started is 4 blocks from where I live today. So I went in, I dropped a resume it was called the Festival of Festivals at TIFF. And like a week later, my parents went away, and me and my friend Martin were in my backyard with my pet duck, drinking out of pineapples. Swear to God. Like we were just kind of like, because that's the kind of goofs we were. Like we would just kind of like, it's Thursday, we should get pineapples and drink out of them. Okay.
Absolutely.
I had a pet duck. Long story, but I had a pet duck. And ducks are actually really affectionate. Anyway, I get a phone call, and I've got a good buzz going from my pineapple drink, and it's a person named Kelly Alexander from the Toronto Film Festival who was calling to ask if I wanted to come in and stuff envelopes, like for free, as a volunteer. And I was like, absolutely, I will. Like, you know, because I knew that I'd been going to the Toronto Film Festival since 19. My dad got me an I Want It All pass to the Toronto Film Festival in 1984. So that was all on my radar. Like the Toronto Film Festival was on my radar from a very young age. Because the Big Chill played the Toronto Film Festival in 1983. And being a guy who kind of like was paying attention to the entertainment pages that my mother had led me to from the Jaws days, like I always, like my dad always, I stole the entertainment section all the time. Like from a very young age, I read the entertainment page. But like Big Chill in 1983, the entire cast of the Big Chill came to Toronto and they premiered it at the Toronto Film Festival. That was a big fucking deal. Like, you know what I mean?
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Well,
it's a tremendous movie.
It's a zeitgeist movie. Like, you know what I mean? It's a movie that grew. So like that's, you know, so I was like, wow. So I like the next year, like my dad, like as a birthday gift, got me, and I saw like, you know, a ton of like I saw all of me. I sat behind like Steve Martin. Like I saw Tough Guys Don't Dance, and I saw Norman Mailer I got to see Norman Mailer introduce his movie, and he made this fucking great. Like Norman Mailer was such an incredible character, and like he sat, and the way when they introduced me, he just got up and read his reviews, and the last one was the devil himself made this film. You decide, and he walked up. I'm like, I like Norman Mailer. So when the Toronto Film Festival called, I'm like, I'll do it, you know, I'll suck a dick. I'll do whatever you want. So I ended up going to their offices, and basically weekly I would come in and I would stuff envelopes for them. And I was a really weird kind of kid. Like when I was young, like I was like I was never a trend guy, and I was never like too cool to be cool. I liked what I liked, and I was unapologetic about it. I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't try and force it down other people's throats. But I remember like my bosses at the Toronto Film Festival took an interest in me when I had to ask to leave early because I was going to see Tom Jones. And this was like 1990. Before Tom Jones really came back into the zeitgeist. And I was like this like 19, 20-year-old kid like asking to go see Tom Jones. And at the time that just seemed absurd, but they that interested them. And then like one of the people was a huge John Waters fan. This girl Party Barb who ran all the parties. And I was a big John Waters fan ever since like when I was a kid. There's the Playhouse Theater in Oakville that turned to a rep for a while. And one time they got this movie in that I'd scratch and sniff. And I was like, I'm going to go see the scratch and sniff movie. It ended up being John Waters' fucking Polyester starring Divine, who became very much an influential person in my life. Where was I at? So anyway, basically I was a John Waters obsessive from a young age, and I had bought like Divine's false eyelashes. Like I got fired from a job because I literally called in sick so I could do an auction to win some of Divine's stuff after she died in like 1988. Like they did I still have like Divine's false eyelashes. I had her mirrors. So like a guy like me shows up at the Toronto Film Festival, and I'm just like this dork from Oakville wearing a like I Ate It Raw at Buccaneer Bills t-shirt that like has this like pop sensibility that is unexpected, like in a big dopey looking guy. So I think they took a liking to me, and they ended up giving me a job. So I ended up being a press office assistant and became press office manager. So that's how my career began. Through that, I met Paul Zimmerman from Film Threat magazine, and Paul Zimmerman, Film Threat had just been banned because they did this. They'd been banned from Toronto Film Festival because they had done some kind of chicanery in a few episodes before. And this is the first issue they're allowed back. Now, working in the press office affords you one thing. I worked the mailboxes. So behind me was everybody would have to come in, like everybody from Roger Ebert on down had to come in and get their mail. Like, and that's where all the party invites, it was at that time, it was party invites. So I very quickly found out Roger Ebert never comes in. Everybody gives him invites. So anything goes to Roger Ebert, anything goes in Roger Ebert's inbox goes in my fucking pocket. Like, so I literally turned invites into a currency. Like, that was kind of like, I was the invite guy at the Toronto Film Festival. There's two things that I managed when I was at the Toronto Film Festival. I managed the film posters and I managed the invites. And managing the posters ended up being really helpful. When Tarantino came to town with Reservoir Dogs, of course, like, he's a huge fan of John Woo. And I had been working there. He came in 92. I had worked there. Like, I had all these original Hong Kong posters of John Woo's movies because I was a poster guy and I love John Woo. So it was so funny. Like, I'm sitting in my office in 1992 and Quentin Tarantino shows up and he says, like, hey, you're the poster guy. That's the worst Quentin. Like, there's a Quentin Tarantino impersonation, but for my sake and his own, I won't do it. But obviously he's got a voice. It's cool. So Quentin comes in, he says, like, you're the poster guy. He's like, do you have these? And I'm like, I know you are. I'm like, you know, and fuck yeah. Like, I have this and I have this and I have this. And I fucking, like, I became the poster guy for him. And we actually became friends. Like, he would come in and then fucking Tarantino comes and drops me off. He comes and drops me off his cassette. At the time, it was a cassette of his proof of the Reservoir Dogs soundtrack. He had just gotten it to approve it, and he gave me his copy, which,
oh my gosh,
I listened, like, which would now be fucking worth so much money, but I listened to it because it was such a great soundtrack.
Absolutely.
But like, and that was the thing, and like, you know, when I saw Reservoir Dogs, it was like I was in a row, like, because Quentin like invited me to the screening, and it's just kind of like, I'm like, I sat like next to Michael fucking Madsen like, and like that scene with Madsen, like, you know, is playing, and like I'm looking to my left, and like that, it you know, it was heady times, you know what I mean? Like, so like the Toronto Film Festival was great. Like, I met a lot of people through it, and ultimately that's how I met Kevin Smith. And then Kevin Smith like brought me, like, you know, and then I lost my job at the Toronto Film Festival. Like, because I was just fucking, I was crooked. Like, I was just, you know, you couldn't, like, I was real, like, it's comical how fucking daring I was with it. I was a real, like, I was the press office assistant that was showing up to every A-list fucking thing ever with a posse.
Well, you had all the invites.
Fucking, and that's the thing. I had invite at that time. Like, invite, like, it was a hard party invite. You had the hard party invite. You were in. That was your ticket. So
yeah.
And so I basically, my friends from Film Threat, I was getting them access to stuff. So basically, when I lost my job at TIFF, I got hired on as a Canadian editor of Film Threat, and through that I met Kevin, and then I pitched. Me and Kevin met, and the first time we ever met, I was wearing a 90210 t-shirt, and Kevin was telling me about the movie Mallrats, and literally the first conversation we had is like, "You're making a movie Mallrats? We should cast Shannon Doherty in that." Like I literally, like, the first conversation me and Kevin had, I told him, like, "You should cast Shannon Doherty in your Mallrats movie." Isn't that fucking hilarious?
That is, and you know,
the world's funny.
It is, and here we are. That Mallrats is it's a cult classic. I mean, just an amazing movie. We're just celebrating, I think, the 31st year now.
You know, funny thing about Mallrats, what bums me out, like, I was there for the entire shooting of that movie. Like, I slept on like Scott Moser's floor. Like, I fucking like Kevin, like I'm always a fan of Hunter S. Thompson, right? So Kevin, this is all true. Like, when Kevin was casting Mallrats, he let me in on the casting sessions, and I went to the casting sessions and brought a 6-pack because I'm like, that's what Hunter would do. And like, I'm sitting there watching like all like Hollywood's fucking the creme de la creme of young actors as a journalist drinking beer. But Kevin
That's
like
awesome.
loved that kind of shit. Like Kevin's a real the one thing I love about Kevin is that he's a shit disturber in the best possible words. Like certain certain decorums he doesn't adhere to. Like you know, like he always dressed like the way he wanted to dress wherever he went. And that was I always, you know, and I was that way as well. But like it was just funny, like, but Mallrats, like I was so a part of all of it from, you know, a journalistic perspective, and you know, behind this, like and on the set of Mallrats, like, because I was supposed to be there for 3 days, and Kevin dared me to stay till the end. So I was just like, all right. So I literally just I slept on Moja's floor. I slept with Brian and Walt's room. Like I just kind of made it work. And on the day of the rap party, like 2 things happened. He was giving Shannon Doherty a DVD player, which at the time was like a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
And so he invited me to his room, like to be there when he gave Shannon her birthday present. And then after he left, we started playing hockey on a fucking whatever. I think Sega hockey.
Yeah.
And like that's, you know, that was the game. And he said, and the thing is, I had a script that I had written called Drawing Flies that like I never talked to him about because I just thought it'd be rude. Like I didn't want to be like with Kevin. Me and Kevin, it was one of those people that when I met him, like right away he was familiar. And like, and the thing is, he wasn't famous yet. So when we met, it was very much equal, right? Like we weren't. So it wasn't hard. It like, and like as you know, when like, you know, our friendship was cemented before Clerks came out in theaters, right? And so as Kevin's kind of fame grew, I didn't want to be that guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like one thing that I find really important, like to me about being friendship with a celebrity, like not that I'm friends with a lot of celebrities, one thing I learned is that I have to treat Kevin like I would treat any friend. Like, and that's what, like, you know, it's always a joke how much me and Kevin have fought, but it's just kind of like, because I won't, if I don't treat him just as my friend, if I give him any leeway because he's famous, like who the fuck, like that, then I'm just fucking a star fucker. Like right. I can't change how, like, you know, I can't treat him differently because then what good am I as a friend? Like right. if I lie to him or if I fucking like, you know, suck his dick, not literally, but like
figuratively,
if I play into that whole thing, then fucking what am I doing here? Like I'm just like, he's my buddy and he's on a journey and like I'm on a journey. Like and it was very important to me in my life that like Kevin gave me an opportunity. Like, you know, he asked me, like, we're playing Sega hockey, and he says, I hear you got a script. And I said, yeah. And he said, how much do you think it'll cost to make? And as a joke, I said $27,730. I gave him the number it cost to make
the Clerk's number, yeah.
Yeah. And he said, it's yours. And it turns out that he had made a deal with Miramax to finance 2 small movies, one of them being A Better Place, and the other one ended up being Drawing Flies. And like Better Place, it's so funny because like Vinny is a far better filmmaker than myself. Like, Vinny is technically a great filmmaker. Like, and like, you know, a Better Place, a very, very good movie. Drawing Flies is inspired by like Warhol and like it's an experimental film that is true, like these long takes that are fucking big wides and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to capture how, like, it's so funny because like Drawing Flies it's just how I felt. Like I was just surrounded by people. I always wanted to get away. I always wanted it just, I never felt I fit in. And honestly, a lot of it is that I was gay. So there's so much of myself that I was hiding, right? Like Bigfoot in Drawing Flies very much represents my sexuality, right?
Okay.
Like, and I'm actually kind of putting this together literally while we're talking. I'm like, you think about it, like Drawing Flies is about a guy who basically wants to go outside of society and be with like big hairy dudes. And it's kind of like, all right, that tracks. You know what I mean? And just kind of like, when you come out, you end up abandoning a lot of friendships. You have to be, you're shedding your skin and you're becoming somebody else. So Drawing Flies is just kind of like, oh, I'm literally figured that it as we're speaking. So, but it's also was all about like, cause like, like that whole, the thing that Ken was so great at, like pop culture and all that kind of stuff. Like it became so part of the vernacular at that point that in Drawing Flies, we treat it cheeky. Like when you hear the lines, they're said like, I don't know. It's Drawing Flies is a total experimental film that has the privilege of having a really incredible performance by some great actors, and Jason Lee gives a really stunning performance.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
It was incredible to watch because Jason Lee literally, like I was there in the moment directing him as he figured out what acting really was, and it was the scene where in the mud. And to see him literally have a revelatory moment and to it was an incredible thing to witness.
I can't imagine. I mean, he had just come off Mallrats.
Yes.
Prior to that, just a professional skateboarder.
Yes.
And then now he's got Mallrats under his belt, trying to figure out what the next move is, how he's going to hone his craft, and
he fucking chooses me, man. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
One of the saddest, like, because me and Jason Lee are not friends. Like, I'm gonna make it clear. Like, we had a falling out. I'm not gonna get it. We had a falling out early. Like, me and Jason Lee had a falling out. Like, if you really think about it, you could probably figure out where me and Jason Lee would butt heads about. Like, a certain aspect of Jason Lee's life that I might have a problem with, that I might, as an older man, might have been more gentle with my words about, was very kind of direct about. Which wasn't fair. I made a judgment on a journey that wasn't mine. Like Jason Lee's journey is his own, and I had my own commentary on his journey, which really wasn't polite, because like, who am I to talk about a man's journey? It wasn't hurting me, it wasn't affecting me personally. But like that caused a big friction between me and Jason Lee. That's like and Jason Lee doesn't. I don't think he likes talking about Drawing Flies all that much. And I understand completely why, like, I was impolite and I kind of talked about something to him that really was none of my business.
Gotcha. So getting into what was your very first documentary?
I mean, like, some could argue, like, it was that Oh What a Lovely Tea Party, but that was such a scattershot. Like, Oh What a Lovely Tea Party, which actually Vincent Pereira was supposed to direct. I don't know, like, but I think Vincent Pereira was going to direct it, and then I ended up in Jay and Bob world. I was actually in the Yukon of all places doing a location scout for a movie that became Pontypool, which horror fans might know. It's got a very good, like, Guillermo del Toro and Edgar Wright are big fans of Pontypool. Oh, Dolly wants, hi, baby.
I hear Dolly.
Meow, meow, meow.
Now, how old is Dolly now?
Dolly is 7.5.
Okay.
If I was an asshole, look, I don't know if you can see her. You can, all right. Anyway, so I was in literally the fucking Yukon location scouting because I was producing that movie at the time, and I got it back. Like I got back to the Vancouver airport. Whitehorse is like as White House is as far north as Florida is south. Like White House is in the middle of fucking nowhere in Northwest Territories. But I got a call from Kevin, and Kevin wanted me to come. It was Thanksgiving in America, and Kevin asked me to fly down. And when I got there, I found out why. Because Muse had shown up, and Muse was a junkie, which I'm not, everybody knows that. And it's so funny, when I made Clerk, I was like, that story's been told enough. I'm not going to, like, Jason Mewes' story isn't that he's a junkie. Jason Mewes is a phenomenally accomplished individual that the narrative of him being a junkie has to end somewhere, because that is just a small part of all the things that Jason Mewes has brought to the world. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, it's just kind of like, it's so unfair. Like, if a guy conquers his demons as masterfully as Jason Mewes did, with some incredible support from, like, Jason Mewes, like, I don't know, like, Jordan Monsanto, his wife, deserves so much credit. Like, that's a woman who really believed in her man. I have so much respect for her. I don't know if everybody in the fan world knows Jordan. I know that, like, but Jordan is literally, she saved that kid. Yeah. But before Jordan was around, there was me, and it was decided that, like, Kevin and, like, we were driving to the studio lot one day for Jay and Bob, and Kevin and Jay got in a fight, and, like, fucking, like, it was horrible. It was me, Mosier, Muse, and Kevin in the car, and me and Muse were in the back seat, and Kevin and Scott were in the front seat. And Muse said something that just fucking set Kevin off. And Kevin doesn't have a temper. Kevin's very even-tempered. He very rarely loses his temper. When he does, he loses it. Yeah. And he fucking just, like, turned around. I think he tried to hit Jason. And, like, Jason just fucking jumped out of the car. And then I followed. And then, like, Kevin and Scott went back to the bungalow, and they were going to cancel. Like, they were just like, we don't know what we're going to do. So I said, I had a conversation with Jason. I said, Jason, you realize all these people working on this movie, they've made their decision on what they're working on. They're all hired. Like, if they lose their jobs, there's not a job for them to go to. They've committed to this production that has your name on it. Like I made Jason realize the scope of his responsibility. Like, his name, like, with great power comes great responsibility, blah, blah, blah. Which, Jay's going to understand that kind of thing. It was just kind of like, his actions were going to affect, like, hundreds of people, literally. Like, their jobs, their all that. And I imparted that on Jason. And me and Jason walked back to the bungalow, and, like, basically Kevin and him made up, and because Scott and Kevin were literally, they were going to cancel it. So Jason was going to quit, but it's just like, so what do you do? So I, being a Canadian, came up with a great idea, like, and literally this is not the 12-step way, but it's the way, how do you quickly make a guy from a fucking non-functioning fucking junkie into a functioning human being? Look, it like, ultimately, like, I think about it now, and it's like, it was a fucking ridiculous Band-Aid, and it worked, but ethically, again, and it's something that I suggested, so I have to take responsibility. I just said, look, I'll turn him into, I'll just introduce him to alcohol. So basically, instead of drugs, Jason's vice was liquor. Okay. And who but a Canadian? And I turned him on to a drink called a Harvey Wallbanger, which is just kind of like, Jason's got a sweet tooth, and it's like orange juice, vodka, and Galliano. Yeah. Which is a banana liqueur. So, like, if you say Harvey Wallbanger to Muse, he will laugh.
I'll have to remember that next time I see
Literally,
him.
like, I just basically introduced Jason to like booze. And it's really funny because Jason's got a lot of baby fat in his face, and that's from drinking. Like, Jason was real thin, but for fucking Jay and Bob, he's got some baby fat, and that's from drinking. But
That's
literally,
hilarious.
like, so I had to like I missed a family Christmas. Like, it was like it became a product, but I became like, you know, in the movie, I'm Jason Muse's. I'm the Muse wrangler.
Yeah, I
But
think I thought that's what your credit was.
yeah, I had to go to bar. I remember like fucking like he wanted to go off with like Marilyn Manson and do blow and stuff. And I literally like, because Muse at the time would like rent limos and party buses. Like, he was very, very, very. He had fun with it. Like, he had fun with it. But I would have to, like, I remember like he was gonna get into, I think, Vince Vaughn's limo at one point. I remember literally picking Jason up and throwing him into a limo because like he had to go to work. So
Yeah.
But that caused so much friction, right? Because I became the narc. Like,
Right.
instead of being the fun guy, I was the narc. So like shooting Jason, like Jay and Silent Bob Straight Back, is one of the worst periods of my life. Which
I bet
it
it was.
should have been wonderful, because essentially everybody's having a great time, and I've got to fucking be responsible for this person, and shoot a documentary, which fucking like literally they gave. I've got like ADD like a motherfucker. Like, they give me a camera and a manual. Like, good luck. Like, you know what I mean? Like. So the movie was I was just like, my focus is to get Jason Mewes through this. So the documentary, I didn't take that serious. I don't consider that, you know, Jen did a lot of the interviews. I did a couple. But like, that was very much like, it wasn't a serious effort. My focus was on keeping Jason Mewes being able to make that movie. That was my job. So, like, I don't want to divorce myself from the Tea Party, but it's not really like, it wasn't an auteur work. It was literally like it's whatchamacallit. It's a press kit.
Yeah.
You know, a bunch of interviews. There's no depth to it or anything like that. It's just a bunch of interviews with cast and all that kind of stuff assembled.
Well, let's talk about a documentary that does have some depth to it. That I think you're getting a re-release on that at some point this year, Small Town Gay Bar. Let's talk about that and its impact on your career.
Well, the funny thing is that I was always I was always cocky. I had an attitude, right? But essentially, I didn't really have anything. Like, drawing flies, like, if you think drawing flies can, like, people, because it's so funny, because there's some people who find drawing flies now one of the greatest things that I love so much, and I didn't even know this existed. There's this subculture of people that keep referring to Jason Mewes as a pretty girl. Do you know about this?
No.
I found it on what's that fucking site that the movie site, Letterboxd. On Letterboxd, like, a lot of the reviews refer to Jason Mewes as a pretty girl, and I like it's constant. Like, if you read it, like, they talk about Jason as a pretty girl, and I fucking love that. But like, drawing flies, like, you know, it got Jason, like, which Kevin himself said, like, seeing Jason Lee's performance in Drawing Flies, like, seeing me edit that movie gave him, like, that's why he put Jason Lee in Chasing Amy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like it's Jason Lee's performance. I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was a conduit to it, but it's Jason Lee's brilliance as a performer that got him that job. So I don't take, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was lucky to be part of the process, but Jason Lee got himself that job. I had nothing to do with it. But, you know, and Taillights Fade was fucking abysmal. Like, Taillights Fade was like that. Making that movie was like every day jumping out of a plane without a parachute and trying to find a parachute on your way down. Like that was a movie where it was, that's why I first saw like the cracks and friendships and shit like that. That was an interesting movie. But after that, I was like, I was just gonna be a producer. I didn't want to direct anymore. It was just kind of like, I couldn't find a way to get my vision properly represented. I had to work with, the DP I worked with on Drawing Flies and Taillights Fade was a total cock. And I don't mind saying that publicly. And it was a battle because Taillights Fade, like, I had a DP that we had worked with on Drawing Flies that the co-director, Matt Gissing, who co-directed Drawing Flies, was the writer of Taillights Fade, and I was the director. I don't know why we fucking divided up. And I came up with the idea. Drawing Flies was, Taillights Fade was supposed to be like Smokey and the Bandit with tits. Like that was, I wanted to make like a Canadian Smokey and the Bandit that was very much like, was a titty movie. Like that I remembered from like when I was young. Like I really liked like Hard Body. Like Hard Body is a great titty. There's a lot of titty in that movie. But I wanted to make kind of like this lighthearted romp, but essentially it was the 90s, so it had to have fucking, it turned into this weird relationship drama. I just wanted to make Smokey the Bandit with titties. But like, so like it kind of went through my friend who was the writer, and the movie that came back at me was not really what I had wanted to make. And then like he ended up having the writer had a friendship with the producer and the cinematographer. So usually the director has the relationship with the cinematographer and the producer, but the writer did. It was an interesting kind of situation. So I was kind of like, literally, I was low man on the totem pole, and I was directing, and I was responsible for everything. And it was like, whole world's against me, Bob, I swear to God. Like, it was one of those kind of things. So making that movie was hard. Like, and one of the hardest parts of that movie, like two fucking hard parts of that movie was, I remember the first time, like it was a telephone. It's the only time I've taken government money for anything I've made. Everything has been independently financed except for Taillights Fade. And I remember we showed Telefilm the movie, and after the producer was like, so what do you do now? And it was the cruelest thing, because it's like, so this filmmaking thing obviously didn't work out for you. So I took a back seat, like after Taillights Fade, and then kind of got my breath, helped Muse out, like on Jay and Bob, and kind of just figured out my space. And then in 2001, I was waiting to go to a film festival party, and I had just come back from LA from Jay and Bob, and I was staying at my parents' house in Oakville in the suburbs, and there was a party going on, and I had to go into Toronto early. And so I went to this bathhouse in Toronto called the Barracks, and it was a gay bathhouse. And essentially, like, you pay $10 to get a locker, and like I just kind of sat around a towel reading the paper. It was a place. I didn't have sex. It was a place to go. And like I was recently kind of out, so it was kind of a novelty to go to. I like to be around gay people, even like just I've been distanced from gay people for so long that I like to be around them. So I was reading a paper, and I read this story about a town called Sudbury that's north of Toronto, that it talked about a gay bashing that happened there. And I was like, Sudbury is a fucking gay bar? And then that set me thinking, like where else has it? Like, what other place has a gay bar? Like, how does this exist? So it just set me on this journey of an idea of like these kind of little places that seek like diversity in the face of adversity, that are kind of like these community hubs. And I just became fascinated with it. And like over, it took me 4 years developing it. And then finally, the reason we got the fucking money is because Shannon Elizabeth, of all people, Shannon Elizabeth was making a Hallmark movie in Toronto. And me and Shannon had made friends on Jay and Bob.
Yeah.
And and Shannon was in town and we hung out, and I ended up going out for one night with her producer, and his producer was a fan of drawing flies, which is ridiculous because nobody's a fan of drawing flies. But he ended up getting like money together for me to go shoot Small Town Gay Bar. So we like shot it. Like it's so funny because we've just done, like, I've been getting paperwork that I haven't, like, in kind of getting the rights to Small Town Gay Bar back. Like, so much is missing. Like, we had to kind of, like, it's been like a restoration from the bottom up, being done by my boy Sean Stanley. And it's such a privilege to work with him again because he's my editor of Continents and all that stuff. But yeah, so I ended up making this movie Small Town Gay Bar, and it was I went with some friends from college. It was the first documentary I was directed. It was the producer. It was the first movie she'd ever produced. The sound guy had never done sound before. It was everybody's first time doing it. I'm going to close the door quickly because it got cold in here. I mean, one sec. But anyway, sorry about that.
Not a problem, brother.
So we headed down south, man, and like, it's such an underground culture that I had the phone number of one guy. So we got a crew of 4 people together, and I had one phone number to do one interview, because it's like you can't do pre-interview. Like, we didn't have money or anything. Like, we had to like choose our date. We had one person we could speak to, and we flew down. We landed in Memphis, rented a car, drove down to Mississippi, up Auto 7. We went and met Rick Gladish, did an interview, and then that night we went to the bar and we started talking to people. And then that movie, like, as people like Dylan say, that movie came through me. Like, there's such little miracles that happened in making that movie. It was to take responsibility for any of that movie would be ridiculous, because it was just like ridiculous things. Like, when we were supposed to interview Fred Phelps, his last interview we did, you could actually look at this. If you look on the day that we interviewed Fred Phelps, I believe it was December 19th to 20th or 21st of 2004. We actually had to drive from Mobile, Alabama to Kansas, where he was. So and like, basically we had one window to get the Fred Phelps interview, and he was the last interview we got. So we had to drive from Mobile to Kansas, and it was like we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. Like, it was real fucking Smokey the Bandit. And if you look in the papers, this is a true fucking story. If you look in the South at that time, it was hit with a once-in-a-century ice storm. And there was a moment where there's 2 ways you could go. You could either go up through Memphis, or there was another way. And we went the other way. It was a 50-50 shot. And we didn't know, and we basically, so we ended up getting there, getting a hotel, and when we found, and then we didn't know until like we got in the interview, and on the way home, it was like Armageddon. There was hundreds of cars. The highway was like the highway we took to go back to the airport, which is the one that we were going to be on, was fucking laid to waste, had just been reopened, and there was hundreds of cars. Like, I'm a Canadian, like, I have a tough time driving. Like, ice is a hard thing to fucking drive in.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Being somebody who doesn't have much experience, like, it was crazy. But if we had chosen that, but the path we chose, there was like a 30-mile there was a 30-mile area that we slipped right through to get that interview.
Oh, wow.
Like, we literally threaded a needle that we didn't even know about that got us that interview. Is that weird? Like, and it's just kind of, it was just luck.
Everything just fell in place for it.
Like, when you're making a documentary, like, because the funny thing about the Small Town Gay Bar is that whole movie was in my head. Like, nothing was planned, nothing was on paper. I made that movie as I went. Well, we made that movie as we went, right? So something would lead to something would lead to something. You're basically just following clues, like you're solving a puzzle, right? Yeah. So, and you basically just got to be really in tune. And like, that's when I figured out, because like, I've done one interview in my life where I had questions in front of me. And that was with Rick Ladish. After Rick Ladish interview, I'm like, no, have a conversation with somebody. You want to be engaged in it because you have to listen, because you're the person you're interviewing is telling you the story, and you have to pay attention to the story, because like, you've got to tell the story that they're telling, and there's going to be facets of it that you're going to have to go off and follow, right?
Right.
So when you interview, you have to be very engaged in it, and you don't want to have a bunch of preconceived things, because then you are actually inflicting yourself upon it. It's like,
right,
you be respectful enough to be present with that person and be naturally curious about the subject that you are talking about and their place in that, right? Like, I was talking to a small town gay bar owner. I had, it's just like, to me, the notion, like, a guy in a small town like Shannon, Mississippi, which is a town of 2,000 people, this man would put, his money, his energy, his time into a business that, by putting a pride flag out front, cuts off a huge segment of the population, makes himself a target. Like, yeah. What kind of bravery, what kind of, what kind of integrity, like, that is an incredible, like, for a businessman to do that, to provide, you don't do that for the money. Like, no small town gay bar owner opened up, like, was like, I got a great idea, an easy way to make money. I'm going to open a small town gay bar. These are people that believed in community fundamentally. They understood the importance of, like, people having somewhere to go where they could be themselves. It's, the root of that movie. And it's so beautiful. And it taught me a lesson about life now. Like, as we were talking in the pre-interview, like, through the internet and all this stuff, the world is blown up, and we think about everything so macro. We're thinking about, like, Palestine and all that. It's atrocity in Palestine and stuff, like, without a doubt. And I don't want to belittle anything that's happening in the world, but we've really lost focus on our communities. We've lost focus on our neighbors and kind of looking out for each other.
And that's where we can make a difference today, is in our communities.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, look at, like, take care of your, like, the thing about it is that where I live now, like, there's a lot of people who are down and out. Like, I open up my door, there's always somebody, like, falling asleep. Like, people sleep, like, homeless people sleep, like, in front of my door, because it's kind of more, my apartment is, it's kind of like they get they won't get rained on. Right. Yeah. So, like, sometimes I open my door, I hit a sleeping bag, and, like, when I do that, I try, I'm as curious, like, that's a human being that literally fucking, like, they're just trying to, like, they're just seeking shelter, man. Like, yeah. There's no need to be rude to that person. There's no need. And basically, like, if they want to talk, I'll have a quick conversation. Like, I'm not one to, like, give money or anything like that, because I don't want to kind of, whatever. I try and support where I can. But yeah, like, it's just kind of like, by just being, like, you don't even have to be, like, just be aware and active in your community. Like, be active, be like, talk to your neighbors, like, talk to, like, go support local businesses. Like, you know what I mean? Like, discover the area around you. Don't fucking worry about fucking, you know what I mean? Like, there's this world the internet is selling you that nobody's living. Like, nobody is like the best ofs that is social media that everybody is so fucking trapped in and isn't real. Like, trust me. Like, you know, I've been around a lot of people, and I know their lives and I know their problems and whatever they're trying to fucking present. But I'm not blind to, I'm talking about like, you know, I like through Kevin, I know a lot of famous people. So I know the behind the scenes of a lot. And I'm just kind of like what the internet is selling you isn't real. And the moment that people realize that, like, it's just kind of like, it's not a race, man. Like, we're not, the human race is just, it's a bad one because it's not a race. Like, we're all lucky to be here. Like, human life is a miracle. The mathematics of you existing as a human life is astronomical. You are every single individual is a fucking miracle. Like, it's a miracle that you are here. It's a miracle you're born. It's a miracle that you were the sperm that hit the egg. It's a miracle that, like, so many people in the past fucked that made you get here. Like, that is a lottery that you've won. And so just by being born, you are a fucking miracle. And every life, and unless you break the social contract, like, you know, molestation, like, you know, if you murder, like, as long as you don't break the social contract, you deserve to be like safe, you know, secure, love. Like, these are things that, like, protected, like, everybody should feel that way.
Absolutely.
So I think that basically by focusing on the micro, focusing on our communities, I think that basically, like, you know, the world's in a place right now and we all feel it. But I actually feel very optimistic because, you know, I've traveled across America, like, extensively. Like, I've driven across, you know, that country. And, like, America right now is just in an abusive relationship. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, Donald Trump is not America. You know what I mean? And America is not Donald Trump. If you believe, you know, if you support Donald Trump or have supported Donald Trump, it's like, all right, but you can't argue that, like, things have gone off. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like things have gone off. It's not about politics anymore. It's just like, this is not following a narrative that makes, I don't have, like, Republican, conservative, I can give a fuck. Like, you know what I mean? In my eyes, it's just like, I don't care what you look like. I care what you think. And if you think anything beyond that, like, look, we have to agree that nobody, like, you know, nobody should be held to a lower standard because of who they love. You know what I mean? Like, nobody held to a lower standard because of the color of their skin. Like, these are ridiculous concepts. Like, ridiculous concepts. Like, if you look, one thing you have to say about the Black community that is so impressive, massively impressive with the Black community is, like, 400 fucking years. Like, they were brought here on boats. Their lineage, like, fucking Whitey came here on the Mayflower. Like, Black people came here in fucking boats and chains. And you know what? Black people have fought proudly and honorably to stay a part of the American fabric. And they are a very strong and important part of the American fabric. They were not brought here by choice. They made a choice to stay here and make a life of America and be very much a part of what makes America great. That is something that people have to fucking recognize. Like, if you're fucking racist, like, fucking like, these people want to be here. We brought them over here on boats. Like, and the fact that literally, like, they're not as angry as they could be. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're talking about some of the most powerful voices, like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. These are, like, Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest men who ever lived, is such a powerful representation of what humanity could kind of be and produce. Like fucking Muhammad Ali. Like if you want to, like, there's a documentary called When We Were Kings. If you want to see a great man, like Muhammad Ali was a great fucking man. And he's one, like he believed in, you know, he's a teacher. Like I've learned from people like Muhammad Ali. Like Muhammad Ali was all about his community. You know what I mean? Like he was very much focused on the Black community. And he made great sacrifices for the Black community. And he believed in them. And like, it's just kind of like, we came here on the Mayflower, motherfucker. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, if you want to start throwing around racial shit, like, think about that. Like, they came in chains, we came on the Mayflower.
I made a comment in a group the other night, and it was a discussion about racism, and it applies to racism, misogyny, xenophobia, homophobia. I mean, those things they don't exist naturally. Those things are taught. Those are learned behaviors.
Well, you know one thing that animals don't do, which is really interesting? I was thinking about this the other day. Animals don't betray each other.
No.
Betrayal is not part of the animal kingdom. Like there's survival, but there's not betrayal. Like humans are, betrayal is such a part of the human experience. I've experienced so much. It's literally my career is blanketed in betrayal. That if I really took on board and processed, I would go insane. Like the amount of people who have outright betrayed me, friends, like it's incredible. But you know, I opt, like you have to learn, like your worst experience, find out the lesson in it. Like that will get you through your trauma. Look for the lesson. Like what am I learning here? Like I'm in this moment of darkness. What is the lesson? There's always a lesson. There's always something to learn. No matter how bad it is, there's something to be learned from that. And that in itself gives it meaning. Because you're just like, some things are so cruel and tragic. You're like, this has no meaning. And you have to find a meaning in it. And it helps. And it actually helps you become a better person because it makes you more conscious about the way you think about things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of thinking about things, I know you've got some exciting stuff coming up with the re-release. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I've just been ranting, haven't I?
Oh, hey, I don't care. That's what we're here for. We want to get to know Malcolm Ingram tonight. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like, small town gay bar. We're going to be playing a big festival. But we're going to be announcing soon. And yeah, very privileged for a 20-year-old movie to be screening at a major film festival is credit to the good people in Mississippi who kind of shared their story 20 years ago, and it still resonates. Like the thing about Small Town, I had watched Small Town Gay Bar in well over a decade. It was like the thing about Small Town Gay Bar is that in making that movie, my father was dying while I was making that movie. My father got cancer, and it took him a year and a half. Like it was a long, prolonged, painful, awful death. So like when I was making that, all the way Sundance, all of that, like my father ended up dying in like October 2006. So we were in Sundance January. So all that, like, I would literally fly to a film festival and come back and like go to the hospice, watch my dad die, come back. And on top of that, like my father only had recently found out that I was gay. I was in my 30s. My father was a man of my dad was big. He had a lot of faith in Jesus Christ. My dad was a Catholic, and he was an usher at church and all that stuff. And I have a big problem, of course, with the Catholic Church. I don't begrudge anybody their faith at all. But I think the doctrine of the Catholic Church is primitive and needs some updating. But like the message of the hippie Jesus and all that kind of stuff is pretty cool. You know what I mean? There's some good stuff in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like if people only fucking read the Bible and understood that there's it's less about hating and more about loving, then
Absolutely.
maybe the world would be a better place. But So like, yeah, so I was feeling very like, you know, me and my dad had that moment that like in a movie, like I just won an award in Miami, best documentary. So right there on an award was our name. I'm a junior, Malcolm is a senior. Our name on an award, and the word gay was on it. And me and my father talked about it. And I said the quiet part out loud. I was just kind of like, I know you've always, you know, really wanted me to succeed in this. Like, you know what I mean? My dad was the one guy that always kind of believed in me. Like here, I'll show you one thing. I've never shown anybody this. I'll show you one thing that hangs in my bedroom. That's really important. This is something. I'm taking it off the wall. The Christmas my movie got in a Sundance. All right. My father gave me this. All right. This was done in 1982. My father saved it.
Oh, nice.
It's me as a director in 82. Right?
That's some foreshadowing right there.
Right there, 82. It was done, I think it was done at Ontario Place. Anyway, literally, my father held on to this. And then when I got into Sundance, my father like gave me this. And it hangs in my bedroom. It's one like this is my most treasured possession. Like in a fire, like I would grab that and Dolly's. It's so funny. I was about to say it. I was like, I don't know. Of course, Dolly, I would take you first. And now Dolly's literally. I wish I could turn. Dolly is looking at the portrait right now, and she's like, "That's my competition." Dolly, it's okay, baby. I love you the most. But the thing about it is this: my father was the one guy who believed in me, but. There we are. He's on his deathbed, and it's like my dad was not. My dad when my dad was young, he told me he used to tell a story about some guy tried to touch him in Hawaii and he kicked his ass. And my dad, the funny thing is, my dad was kind of a scrawny guy, and I think that he wanted to show me he was tough, but like at a time, it would have been considered tough to beat up a gay. Like, you know what I mean? It just like in the 70s. Like that would have been somebody proud of is just fucking like hitting like something, you know, doing that kind of violence. So my dad wasn't, my dad was very anti-gay, very anti-gay. So we're sitting there with a fucking trophy with both our names on it. And there's the words gay, small town gay bar. So I'd made it in my career, but it was now going to be attached to the word gay. And I said like that, you know, that must be hard for you, right? And to my dad, like I literally, because you're hoping what your dad would say is, of course not. Like, you know, I'm so proud of you. And like, you know, I mean, but my dad decided, my father decided not to do that. My father said, yeah, like it did bother him. And it's kind of like, that's one of those things where it's just like, old man, you could have saved me so much trouble if you had just fucking like just give me a little grace in that moment. But you know, he believed what he believed. What are you gonna do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what I'm gonna be mad at my father? You know what I mean? My father gave me so much, but like, unfortunately, he comes from a time that you know he had beliefs and the book that he believed in, and this and that, and therefore, so it's just like I don't hate my father, but like. You know, I mean that leaves an emptiness inside that, like, you know, it's sad, but yeah. So small town gay bar, like that, it was the funniest thing because it was like, you know, I had a movie of fucking like holy shit, I got to Sundance, like holy shit, like I never like getting into Sundance harder than getting an Oscar, right? Like only like I was a Canadian director. With a movie in American competition. I don't know if there's been any other Canadian filmmakers with a movie in America. Like that is a very hard slot. Like that's one of the hardest slots to get in film, right? Like there's 16 slots a year. Like 16 narrative, 16 documentaries. And those are in America, the 60 movies that people are going to pay attention to. Like some fall, like, you know, my year was also like Little Miss Sunshine, you know. But like, you know, the Rolling Stone, like the Rolling Stones lead coverage of Small Town Gay Bar, like it was crazy. Like it was just, all of this was happening. It was like, it was all happening, but also my father was dying. And the sad thing is that I'd been in a relationship for 5 years, and like my dad dying and him kind of like me having that very complicated experience, like it kind of, it had an effect on me and my confidence. So I started kind of becoming a different person. And it broke up my relationship with my boy. Like I lost my father and my boyfriend of 5 years, my first love and only love, like, you know, within like a month and a half of each other. And I still had like the Small Town Gay Bar thing. Like it was just a very dark time. Like it's just kind of like, it was the best times, it was the worst times.
Yeah.
So now, like in revisiting Sundance, it's like, wow, do I get a second shot at this and fucking like get to reintroduce this movie to the world and actually enjoy it? Because and again, like there's so much, like that's how the movie ended up getting away from me. It ended up like going to the investors and losing it. And then Scott Mosier, of all people, was the one who helped me get it back. And I'm not, you know, I thank him, you know, I'm very grateful to Scott. Scott Mosier was instrumental in me getting Small Town Gay Bar back. And I can't say enough good about Scott. I mean, you know, people who are fans of Kevin Smith will know that he was, you know, he was very much a part of Kevin's earlier career. And now he's got a very, you know, he directed the fucking The Grinch.
Yeah. I mean, huge movies.
He's gone off and done very much a wonderful career, but he's also an incredibly evolved. He's done a lot of work on himself, like as an individual. So talking to him, you're like talking to like, it's like talking to whatchamacallit from Kung Fu. Like David Carradine. What's his character's name? Anyway, you know what? He's got
it. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. It's leaving my head.
Mojo's got a wisdom.
Yeah.
Mojo's got a wisdom. And so, and he's actually helped me a lot, kind of like, you know, through the process of getting it back. So I hadn't seen the movie in, 15 years. And I just watched it like now it's probably about 4 months ago. And the first time I watched it, I was like, holy shit. Like, there's a lot like this, like there's a lot on this movie's mind. And like this movie is, and the funny thing is that like, you know, when the festival accepted this movie and everybody that I've shown it, because, you know, I've had to show it to people, a lot of I showed it to a lot of like festival programmers from the past and talked to them about it, like in figuring out like how to proceed with it, right? So I kind of reached back in my past to kind of figure out what the way forward with this movie was. And everybody who rewatched it was like, this movie literally couldn't be more important than right. Like, it's just like the good people of Mississippi, their eloquence, their bravery, and they're literally like, it's their message is so it's so important for right now. And to be, you know, to have the opportunity to bring that back to the world is a privilege that like I do not take for granted. I'm so thrilled to death about. Like, it is such a privilege. And it's funny because when I initially planned it, I wanted to do a tour and put like I was gonna get a Winnebago, and I was gonna put, and then like all of that ICE agent stuff started happening, and then like Trump starts talking about taking over Canada. I'm like, I don't know if I want to kind of travel across America. Like, I don't know if I want to be identified. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm a brave man, but like, the world isn't like, I don't want to be fucking poking. So
right. Yeah,
we're finding a lot of, I'm still going to do a lot of screenings in community groups across America. I want to do some of those in June. I'm kind of putting those together now. I'm also going to kind of reach out there's been a lot of people through Kevin's fan board. And, you know, I want to kind of start reaching. I've disappeared. I've been on Facebook and forever. Like, I've been dealing with, it's been, I've been working nonstop at kind of getting things. Like, when I got handed over this movie, everything was gone. Like, we didn't have drives. We didn't have anything.
You had like one VHS copy found somewhere, didn't you, or something like that?
We had originally it was just kind of like we in Florida there was 3 Beta SP tapes, which used to be something that was screened, and we went to get one transferred and it broke, and it was just kind of like, oh God. So it's been a real process, and just kind of like figuring stuff out, and it's been a real journey. And you know, that Kickstarter, like, you know, that was a remarkable experience. And the thing of it was, the precursor to that was like I started telling stories on the View Askew board, and that kind of like is what led me to kind of like I have so much. I'm so grateful to the people on that View Askew board and telling those stories, because that kind of helped me find my voice, and a voice that helped me get back my film, which helped me, you know what I mean? It was like talking to people at that period of time when I didn't even know who I was at that point. Like, I was very rudderless. And then Trixie Mattel mentions the movie, and fucking bam. And like, you know, it's success is like, you know, it's opportunity, like it's being ready for the moment when it comes. Right.
Yeah.
So when this moment came, I was ready. Like, and I'm very grateful to a lot of people, and, you know, specifically a lot of people on that View Askew board who were very generous with their likes and buying stuff and everything. And that was, and I missed that so much, because it was such a special time. It was something I looked forward to, and it was communication I really enjoyed. It was really great.
The stories you shared were amazing. And, you know, all of the insight that you were sharing, the backstories of everything, it was all so much fun. And then you get this baby back, and you hit the ground running like the baby's essentially on fire. You got to get it somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's a nasty picture you painted. Yes. But the big one, and like, literally, I've been putting out fire. So literally, I just stayed the fuck away from Facebook, because it's just like, until I have something to say, and now I do have something to say, so I'm going to do something in the next little while. And then I've been dealing, like, life has been very complicated. But I mean, I'm so looking forward to kind of bringing this back in the world. It's such a treat. And the thing about it is that you're like, is the movie like is relevant? Like, but it's just like, this movie's gonna fucking knock people's socks off. And to see it in a theater, in a community, like to see it in a communal experience. Dolly, can you hear her yelling at me?
I can. She's ready for you to be done, isn't she?
Is she? No, she's good. She's just being a jerk.
She needs some attention.
But yeah, so we're kind of like, we're really like, I'm like, you know, just a pro. So we're gonna come up with some dates, and we're gonna, you know, it's Small Town Gay Bar is gonna be out there, and I want to do some face-to-face screenings and organize some stuff. So we're gonna do a lot of grassroots stuff, and but I'm really excited for people to see it. And it's also given me me and Sean Stanley, who's my creative partner, who basically, like, I met through like the hockey league, when Kevin came here to play hockey in Brantford, the Walter Gretzky thing. Like, I met his brother Warren, who introduced me to Sean Stanley, and Sean Stanley edited my podcast Blowhard. And then when I made Continental, he'd been editing those. He'd never edited a movie before, and I was like, "You want to take it a go?" And he ended up being one fucking brilliant editor. Like Sean Stanley is he's like the Keith Richards to my Mick Jagger. I mean, I'm certainly not as Mick Jagger, but like I'm the Jagger and he's the Richards. Like, he's the soul of a lot of my work. So it's been such a gift to kind of work with Sean Stanley again, and kind of like, he's helping me. Like, it's a movie, like it's great because he's now gonna have an editing credit on this, which
That's
means
awesome.
so much to me because he's now part of more. He's more part of my story.
That's great, man. That's great. Malcolm, I appreciate you so much for joining me tonight and sharing all these stories, giving us the background, giving us the lowdown. It's amazing to be able to spend this time with you. You're such an amazing storyteller, and
I just feel I've been rambling. Have I just like?
No, you've done great, man. This is what I wanted. I wanted us to get to know Malcolm and
I
hear the
mean,
stories that you wanted to tell.
But like, no, thank you so much. You just, I met you through the, the views. You were on the cruise though. We met.
Yeah. Yeah, we met on the first cruise. Yeah,
we met on the cruise. The cruise was so weird for me because like I quit drinking 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And and like the only reason I went on the cruise was because my mother always wanted me to go on a cruise. So I like going on a cruise when you're not drinking is really weird. And it was really funny because I wasn't an announced guest or anything. I was just kind of like, so I didn't really know, like, I didn't want to like, I felt really out of place in that cruise. Like, cause I was just kind of like, I was there, like Jason Lee was on the cruise too. And I knew I couldn't be in a room with him or he'd get like, it was just a very weird dynamic for me, which was a bummer. And like, Soul Asylum is one of my favorite bands, and like I didn't get to enjoy that as much as I wanted to. But like, going on the cruise, like, I would like the thing is, I wish I went on the cruise this year because I know more people now. Like, you know what I mean? Now I've talked to so many people that like, it's less so would I go and like, want to talk to like, Muse and everybody you already know. It's like I'd like to talk to a lot of people I haven't met yet.
And that's one thing that 5 other cruisers and we did our first episode a couple of weeks ago, and we kind of talked about the cruise itself. And that's one of the things that we talked about is how in the first cruise nobody knew each other, and we were all just kind of getting to meet each other. And then you go back 2 years later, and these are people it's easy to have a conversation with. You feel like you've known them because you've stayed in contact in between and everything. And some of them we've seen at Chronicon. So yeah, it was a little easier to talk to people and know who you were talking to. But but I mean, you were very, very gracious. Spent some time with me on that first cruise, and I appreciate that. We talked a little bit about Muscle Shoals and
some of the greatest people some of my favorite people I ever met. Like, because I like. Going back to the View Askewed board days, like, like there's so many people that I've met, so many people in that community, like Kevin's fan base. There's a lot of really wonderful, creative, intelligent people. Like he attracts some, like it's like, like one of the themes of my filmmaking is misfit culture. If you really look at the core. Of what I talk about is misfit culture, like small town gay bar, Bear Nation, like, it's, and, Clerk. I mean, I ended up making a documentary, and it was very important, like making that movie. I basically wanted to make it, like, the thing about it is that what the hardcore fans, their biggest complaint was like, I already know all this, but it's just like, well, not everybody knows all this. And it's just like, as time, time moves fast, and I just wanted to have a document out there of what Kevin had done up until that time. I just wanted to have it all over, and like there's a better documentary about Clerks, that was done by Phil. His name is escaping me right now, but the Snowball Effect is something. Is a documentary that people should really look. It's a far
it's on the Clerks X DVD, I think.
Yeah, it's a fantastic documentary. But yeah, like it's just kind of the View Askew world has meant I've just met so many fucking cool people, like really, really genuinely cool people that I kind of stay in contact with. And it's funny because I've disappeared now for a while, and I'm looking forward to going back on that board and kind of letting people know
It's okay. We all understand you got work to do right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I'm very because I am ADD and stuff. I have to really focus on what I'm focusing on, and I can't get. I have to kind of like stay in my lane, and if I get distracted, things will just go off.
Totally
I have
get it.
to. I really fight for discipline, right? Like discipline is such an important aspect of life. You have to be, you have to have some form of discipline.
Yeah.
Um,
I think a lot of creatives struggle, with that same fight. It's
but
you get
yeah,
so many ideas.
well, it's so many ideas, but it's also kind of like your life. Like I haven't had a boss since 1994. Like I've been my own boss essentially.
Yeah.
And there's a responsibility to that. Like I didn't know I was going to live this long. That's the funniest thing about it all. Like I'm 57. Like I thought I'd be dead by 30. So it's like I haven't really planned for, like all of a sudden it's like I'm 50. Like I'm what? I'm 3 years from 60. Like, that fascinates me. Like it's just like I never thought I'd make it here, but now that I'm here, well, I might as well make the best of it, right?
That's right.
So
Make the best of what you got.
yeah, so I mean, like, if there's any wisdom I could impart is that like, look, take care of your community and like look for even in your worst situation, look for the lesson. And like
Yeah.
my words to live by, like my words that got me through all of the pain was keep moving and find joy.
Thanks for the wise words, brother. It's been a great couple hours talking with you. And for all of you out there, if you've enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, share it with someone who appreciates a great story, because tonight was great getting to know the real Malcolm Ingram. That's how we grow this thing too. If you've
I feel
haven't already,
seen. Like this is like that Colbert report. Like I feel seen.
you are seen, brother.
I am seen. It's the Colbert thing. Like I feel seen.
So follow us on Facebook on Professor Skip's page, YouTube. Go to the Professor Skip channel. For the audio podcast, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and you can listen directly at professorskip.com. Malcolm, again, thank you so much. Until next time, everybody, stay curious, stay engaged, and remember there's always a story behind the story. I'm Skip Nichols, and this has been People, Places, and Things.